Hello there, I'm Johan, and this is my colleague Jacques from Support Your Local Business, and we are here, or we're the founders of Support Your Local Business.
Yeah, welcome. Today we're going to talk about your signature solution, your context grid. If you don't know what that is, don't worry, we're going to explain it. It's going to make sense. It's going to guide you in all things that you need to post. It's going to take the whole chaotic world of social media and content, and it's going to bring it into focus. You're going to understand where point A is, where point Z is, and how to navigate through all of it. Just before we get stuck into the content, be sure to like and subscribe, hit the bell, do all the things that normal people do when they find something that they like. But yeah, let's get started.
Thanks, Jacques. So guys, today we're going to talk about our signature solution. Now, this is something that Jacques and myself spent quite a lot of time on to develop. And we'll go through that now, why, how, and all that type of stuff. And then that signature solution will literally create or become the context grid. And, so without further ado, let's just get our teeth in there so we can actually explain to you what the story is. So what's a signature solution? So it's literally a visual representation of your client's journey, where you take them from point A to point B. And that point A to point B can pretty much be anything. So if you are selling, for instance, furniture, it's actually getting the guy into the door, and then from that point on where he actually sits, sign on the dotted line and pay you and organize the delivery, etc., etc. So that is the point, the client's journey. So what we've done is, and a lot of these things, if you are selling, let's say, for instance, furniture, it's a lot less complicated than, services. In our case, we are busy looking at doing a business directory. So it's a lot more complex, and a lot more intricate to map this client journey. But if you do this for your clients, you will at any given time understand where you are and how you take the client through that journey. And if he's halfway already there, you don't want to take him now back to point A. The guy's already halfway there. So let's say his friend has already referred you to him. So you already built that know, like, and trust factor with a guy because you got a good, strong referral from a friend. So guess what? The guy's already hard to trot. All he probably needs is show him some options and then give him a good deal, and you can close the deal if you're selling furniture. Yeah, you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's no use going back to point A. Just start at, let's say, the third or the fourth step in your, client journey, and take the guy to the next step, to the next step, to the next step. Okay, so
if I understand, sorry, I just want to jump in with furniture solution. So every solution for every business would be different. Based on where point A is and where point B is. One client might think that point A is when someone's starting to look online. Another guy could be when he walks into the store. Another guy's point B can be when he needs to replace his furniture. It's not only when he buys the first one, it's the maintenance afterwards and then buying the next one. That could be their point B. So every signature solution would be wildly different depending on the business and how they view point A and point B, right?
Doc, I can't agree more with you. So if you use the furniture solution, if you sell, and I don't want to knock it, but let's say, for instance, you sell cheap and cheerful furniture. The guy is going to come into your shop, you're going to sell something to him, and he's going to walk out after he bought the stuff, and he's never going to return. Or he'll come back if he wants to buy one more or another one or something else. But the reality is that's pretty much the end of the deal. If you're selling maybe furnitures, if you continue with this example, if you sell, let's say, Victorian antique type furniture, that's a total different story. So what you'll do is, after you have sold this to this guy, this, let's call it a lounge suite, to the guy, you will effectively now have 3 or 4 other products that you can sell to the guy. So ongoing maintenance, how to restore it properly, how, here we've got a whole range of preservation oils and that type of stuff. We've got a guy that does French polishing. I'm just playing with ideas, but the thing is, those are all things ongoing. So your point B might be 4 or 5 steps further than just you're selling to the guy, because there might be a delivery point. There might be, then that restoration and maintenance, services that you provide. And then, if it's a collector's item type thing, you might even include a resellers, group and collectors group, where you actually introduce this guy, where they trade and actually resell, come back to you and say, sell this on to another collector. I'm in the market for an upgrade or another collection piece, etc., etc. So it goes further than just the guy walks out your door and you never see the guy again. It's a whole process, and you have to map that process out, and we'll go through that in other videos. But what's important is what the signature solution does is it's literally that visual representation of the journey, right? So it takes you, it's the path that all successful clients take in order for you to get maximum results. Remember, we're in this for business. Nobody starts a business unless you're a non-profit, but, you don't start a business, if you, just because you like to. You want to make a living. You want to create and generate income for you, your family, as well as your employees create a stable environment for them. So it's ultimately maximum results. Whatever those results are, it needs to actually feed back to that. Okay, so let's just look at this. So a signature solution is not just a marketing tool. It's one of those ways, like Jacques and myself, just, this example of the furniture. We just added 3, 4 different products on top of that. So it's that kind of going through that journey, you realize this, but you know what, at this point I can do that. At that point I can do that. We can organize finance. If it's, very expensive stuff, we can organize finance for you. It's not a problem. So it's all that type of stuff that you can play with, but it actually prompts you going through the proper process. It actually gives you that, indication of, here's another product I can sell. Here's another thing that I can do for a client. Doesn't have to be a product that you sell. You can actually give them valuable information. Once again, build that know, like, and trust factor with the client, which means the guy will come back. Okay, so train your team, establish values of your organization or your business, deliver those training and coaching, because once you've got this path sorted, think how easy it is now to start training your people on that, and they know there's so much more that I can do and generate more income for myself as well in the form of commission, etc., etc. And then obviously leverage products and services. So you're not just doing one thing, but you've got a range of products that you can now sell to a guy. Where we just spoke about selling furniture, guess what? There's a whole life after selling furniture, and there's a whole lot more that you can do. Okay, so what's very important with a signature solution, it's not just our signature solution. A signature solution is a blueprint that every business needs to follow in order to be successful. So what we've done with our signature solutions, we have tried it. Remember, what's our goal? Our goal is to help businesses to not just be surviving, but to thrive. So our signature solution supports that. So every step of the process supports that main thing. How do we help people not just to be, surviving, but actually thriving, and be a vibrant business and sustainable for long term, etc., etc. Okay.
Yeah, that's perfect. I can't agree more. Like, what we did was we used our experience to go, for us, if we're looking at a business that needs to be successful, what are the steps that they need to take? And that's kind of how we modeled the services that we're going to be offering, and we'll get to the context grid now. how we kind of came up with that. It's a universal truth that we believe, like, everyone's would be different. From our experience, we believe that a business needs to go through a couple of steps, and we're going to try to help businesses accomplish that. So, yeah. So the goal of the context grid is every item and piece in the context grid that you create, write, and develop for your business needs to serve a specific purpose. Otherwise, you're wasting time and effort. It's if you don't have a goal in mind, if you're just sharing everything that you can possibly get your hands on, it doesn't serve a purpose. So it's just wasting time. You're running around in circles. A context grid focuses your efforts with regards to creating content for your business and your clients. So there's actually two parts of this, and we're going to cover that in a little bit. But just think of it as it's your North Star. So before you create content, you look at that to see where it fits in. Before you repost stuff, you look at that to see where it fits in. You also look at that to see what you need more content of. But we're going to get into all of that once you see the grid, because then it's going to make sense. It categorizes your content, so you can also tell people that in your signature solution, this is step number 5. This isn't the only step, because they'll be able to see, because you create your context grid and then you get it designed later on. But it's a way for you to show your clients that this is step number 5 of 9. So that they also know exactly where in the client journey that piece of content will go. It tracks where your content fits in with the other greater business strategy, which is awesome. It acts as a gap analysis tool, showing you where you need content and areas you need to focus on. Covered all of these points. It's beautiful. It's like I've read this before. It provides a great framework for brainstorming to develop new content. It's like an echo in here. It shows your clients that there is more to your business. It's products and services that they should learn about. So once again, this is step number 5 of 9. We'll cover X, Y. You can also throw forward, like the next video we're going to do will be about step number 6. So yeah, be sure to tune in to that. Yeah, I think that covers it quite nicely.
Okay, so guys, this is now our signature solution that we have. This is a very simplistic, representation of that. There's a lot more with regards to each one of the steps, etc., etc. But so this gives you literally with one view what it's all about. This is support your local businesses signature solution about. So like we said earlier, what does the signature solution do? It actually takes people through the steps. It takes you through that journey that you need to go and look at this. Here, we sound like broken records, but if you think about it, it says there, surviving business, and then right there after following these 12 steps, thriving business. So that's the whole idea. So we have got 12 steps in our signature solution, and it's divided into main categories as well. So each one of these 12 steps will be a category that is a subject. So whenever we talk about content, we will refer back to one of these 12 steps. That's the main category. Jock, you wanna say something about this?
No,
there's a ton of things. I just don't want to go and spill the beans now. It's for a much later discussion.
Yeah, we'll go into depth. We're trying to keep this short. No, 100%. I just want to echo what you just said. Like, we'll sound like broken records because this also focuses your messaging. So you'll hear us talking about going from a survival business to a thriving business. That's not something that Yuan came up with, and how do I put this? It's not something he just says randomly. Like, we sat together and we designed this so that this is the language that we use. So you understand, when you're talking about what we do, we take businesses from being a surviving business to a thriving business. That's the same message. So that, yeah, there's also congruency in the message that you tell people what you do, that one person isn't saying. And usually when it's a small business, it's quite easy because your founders will have the same kind of vocabulary and will use the same terminology. But once you get 2 or 3 people involved in your business, they might think they're saying the same thing, but one person might be saying we grow businesses online. Another guy says that we're building a website. Another guy says that we help people with creating email lists. And although technically all of those would be growing businesses online, that's not the message that's being sent to people. So this also helps with just centering your message around your common theme and keeping that on brand.
Excellent. Okay, so guys, we're not going to go into the detail of each one of these steps. That's for a much later discussion. We'll probably have to do a video on the whole thing and then each one of these steps, in its individually. But what we want to do now is to actually give you an idea of how does this fit into all the stuff that we have discussed prior, in prior videos. In the last video, in video number 10, we discussed content, and we discussed, if you haven't watched the video, you can actually go and watch video 10 that will give you a very good idea of what we're talking about. Jacques will give you the link to that video, so you can go and have a look, and even at the slide deck, because the slide deck also gives you an idea of, the content that was discussed in the video. But like I said, I don't want to go into detail here. But what's very important is, let's say, for instance, and let's use this as an example. So email list. I want to build my email list. So this is giving me an idea. This is the building blocks of my client solution. So this automatically prompts you and gives you what kind of content you have to create for your clients. If you've got, I don't want to use any other example. Let's just use this as an example. So email list, what do I do to build my email list? So if we now go to, remember what we discussed last video. So this is the content, and each one of the different phases that we find ourselves in with regards to support your local business will have different content. So these are the phases. So introduction, we are busy right now in introduction. So if we go now to the types of content, you see where phase 1 is. It says there, these are the types of content that we want to do. For phase 1, we identified those things. But now going back to our context grid, you see the email list. So what do I need to do? What kind of products or what kind of content can I create to build my email list? And using this as an example is just quickly going through there's a competition. And a competition is a great way of building your email list. So what do we do? In phase 1, we're going to do an announcement. And we're actually going to punt that and say, guys, create the expectation at this specific date. We're going to launch the competition and you can win the following. What do we do with that? So we create 2-3 weeks before the launch of the competition, we create the expectations, and then on a consistent basis, just reinforce that message. So 2 weeks beforehand, you give another message with another image, etc., etc. Time is, are you guys ready? A week before, are you guys ready? Tell us what you think, give us some comment, and then a week or the 2 days before, you do the same thing. So what do? You create the hype. You want to get people to actually immediately start participating in a competition. Then when we get to phase 2, we're going to launch the competition. So every person that participates in the competition becomes part of your mailing list. And that's how you build the mailing list. So that's one way of actually very successfully create the mailing list. Do you understand how this actually fits then into the great scheme of events? So you will literally go and see, if I want to do build my referral network, what do I need to do? So I'm going to go through this 12 steps and I'm going to identify for each one of those steps, what are we going to do with regards to stage, let's just go back here, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. That's how easy it becomes. If you look at your central theme once again, guys, surviving business, thriving business. So Jacques touched on it. That is our central theme. So what words will we use when we create a campaign for the competition? We're going to use those words. We're actually going to build that in there. You see how easy it becomes to have a central theme. We're going to use these, what we've got here. Take action now to become a go-to supplier instead of a me-too supplier. You want to be unique where people come to you instead of just be one of many doing the same thing. You understand the difference between the two? And that's what we're trying to do with our solution, is helping the guys out there, the small businesses and the local businesses out there, to become that unique person in that space instead of be one of many. Because if you're the unique person in that space, look at this. And I just want to show you. $1 million message, boring to irresistible. You know, you understand what we're saying with take action now to become the go-to supplier instead of the need to, the me too supplier. Everything that we do here, all 12 steps, will support that theme and will support the surviving, thriving business theme. Jock, you want to do any show with the people how this thing fits into each other?
But I was just thinking of your competition announcements. Actually, what you can do with the competition announcements, because obviously there's limitations to what you can say. But you can say what the prize is going to be, and then ask people to communicate what they'll be doing with the prize if they win. To build up that hype, which is awesome. Don't ever give away cash. It's a terrible way of building a list. Just by the by, everyone wants cash. If you run a competition, you want something that only your perfect client would like. Sorry, just a little bit of a side note. Yeah. So
Jacques, you are making a perfect point there. If you look at the competition prize needs to be part of your business. Let's say, for instance, I'm a panel beater. It doesn't help. If I say, you know what, I've got an emergency car kit. So if you're stranded next to the road, there's a tow rope in there, and there's a this and that and that. That suits your business. It complements your business. If it's something part of your business, we say, you know what, we will do. What's now a good example? A swimming pool. You know what? You can win. You're a swimming pool business. You can win 12 months of swimming pool maintenance. You understand what I'm saying? It's part of your business. You don't, when you're a swimming pool business, you don't go and say, you know what, we will come and install 5 garden lights in your garden. It doesn't talk to your business, unless that is a part of your business. But you understand what I'm trying to say is, the prize that you give out needs to suit your business, and it needs to be in line with what you do. Otherwise, people are kind of, they're going to look at this and say, this doesn't make sense. I mean, it's the guy's talking apples, but he's actually selling, pineapples. No, he's not even selling pineapples. He's selling potatoes. It's two different things, vastly different things, and it doesn't complement your business. So when you do something like that, once again, bring it back to your product. So if you have a competition, if you've got a poll, if you've got any of that type of stuff, bring it back to your product that you sell. Because what will happen now, you build a mailing list of people that is interested in your product. So it's already a qualified list. If your product or if your price is so wide and it's not part of your business, guess what? You don't draw the right people. So even when you do that, strategically think what you're going to do And that must be actually flypaper for your business, because you're drawing people, the right kind of people, and building a qualified mailing list instead of a who it may concern mailing list, where people are going to look at you funny when you actually contact them and selling them something, or want to sell something, or sharing information with them, and they have got no idea where you are coming from, versus they know you're the guy that actually sold that had a price of the pool maintenance for a year. And now when you come to them and say, listen, here's a booster pack to make sure, during the summer months when there's huge thunderstorms in Gauteng, here's a booster pack that's going to make sure your swimming pool is not going to turn green. It's going to stay blue. Doesn't matter how many thunder strikes, it's going to be okay. Now you see the difference.
Yeah, I think the big thing is you should always be answering a question with your prize. It's to think, if you are looking for someone who has a pool because that's who your business services, then the answer for your competition should be the answer to the question, who has a pool, who needs maintenance. If you're just giving cash away, it's the answer to who wants cash, and that's everyone. So it's going to be terrible. But yeah, so technically, I think you covers this quite nicely. It works in conjunction with one another. So you can look at what kind of content you want to put out, and then come back to the grid and see, okay, well, the type of content you want to put out goes hand in hand with building your authority or building an email list, and you can shape it around that. Or you can say, every one of my clients always, they can't seem to understand how to build a perfect client avatar. So I'm going to go back to the types of content that I can create, and I can do an explainer video, or I can build out a lead magnet that will explain this specific aspect of my signature solution to them, so that I don't have to have the conversation. People can go and watch that and reach out to me once they understand that. So I think that's how the two can work quite nicely with one another.
Very much so. I think, one of the things that you should always consider is, what's the path of least resistance, and what is going to give you maximum value. And by doing that, let's say, for instance, you get 20 calls, in a month, or 20, questions asked, the same questions are being asked, those frequently asked questions. Guess what? Do a video about it, because you're the expert. You've heard me say this, and I'm going to say it again. Most businesses out there, not most, all businesses out there have secret sauce that nobody out there knows about. But you know what? You do not even appreciate that, and you don't realize that. But sharing those pools of wisdom with the potential people out there, those frequently asked questions, do you know, if you want to do that, do this. If you want to achieve that, do that. How do you keep your pool to stay blue during thunderstorms, or what should you do to ensure, even with a thunderstorm, your pool is going to continue being blue. It's that kind of questions that only a good pool guy will be able to answer. But if you answer that, what did you do? So you spoke to your audience, your target audience, right? Secondly, you have now proven and shown to your client or potential clients out there that, you know what, this guy is a very knowledgeable guy. He knows a lot more than I do. I should listen to him. And guess what? I'll follow him, because the good advice that he has given me has given me, results. And he hasn't sold anything to me, which is another thing. What have we done with our video series? We're not selling anything to you. Selling will come much later, and all that type of stuff. But what we do, we are sharing valuable information with people out there, because we know it will make a huge difference in their business. And we're not selling it. We are showing you these kind of things. Who else has spoken to you about a signature solution? Very few people, if you've ever heard of it. Who has spoken to you about a context grid? Very few people, if you've ever heard of it. Now, you see what I'm saying? It's giving that valuable pearls of wisdom and giving people value for nothing. You're not selling anything, but what have we done? We are building our credibility with our audience out there by showing them and proving to them that, you know what, these guys kind of know some stuff that I don't know. And maybe if I just go through this process, it will have a huge impact, a positive impact on my business. And that is what we're trying to achieve with what we're doing now.
Yeah, 100%. This is the exact strategies that we use for our national agency clients. So this is all happening in the background. You never see it because most agencies won't ever talk about it. But you're getting it for free and you're understanding it and you can implement it for your own business. And that's what we're about, because small businesses need to grow in order for South Africa to become what it's supposed to be. So yeah, that's the idea behind it.
Okay, so I think this is literally, so once again, just to recap, here's the context grid with the 12 main topics or main categories, you want to call it. This is how the phases fits into the content, and the content fits back into those 12 main categories, and then vice versa, so it doesn't go one way, it goes both ways. So from here, I can identify what I want to do and what kind of content I want to, create. Or alternatively, I look at, let's use this as an example. There's third-party content. I look at an article. Hell, that's a good article. I want to share it with my audience. So guess what? I now go back to my context grid here and see where it slots into that specific pigeonhole. Because now it's part of your whole strategy. It's not just willy-nilly things out there flapping about. Okay. Right. And I think, once again, just to recap, I'm not going to go through this. We've gone through this enough. We have said enough about it. But I think what's very important, once again, is why do you create content? This is the reason why I want to create content, and we've gone through it before, but we're going to continue showing you this because this is very important. If you go and write down 5, 6 things that content will give you as a business, what will that kind of content create for your business? Because it doesn't help to go through anything and go through a lot of effort if there's not strategy behind it, if there's no goals behind it. So we've got goals, and you can see we'll continuously refer back to that. And that's how it should be, guys. You not just willy-nilly do stuff. There's a reason behind every single thing that we do. And we're going to continue showing you those reasons because it's very important for you as a local business to understand it, because you need to do the same thing. If you want to waste your time, go ahead and do that. But we would suggest don't do that. Rather focus and make sure that every single piece of content that goes out there, that's got your brand on it, that's got your name on it, serves a purpose. Okay, that's pretty much, I think, everything I have to say about the subject for now. Jacques, what's your view?
Yeah, no, 100%. I think we covered everything. I think there's going to be a couple of follow-up videos about the context grid and how we use it and how you can use it once you've set it up. We don't want to make this too long, so we don't want to keep you here too long. Yeah, that's just what we wanted to share today.
And the signature solution. So we're going to do quite a few things on there. I think that's probably going to be a little series on its own, going through the steps, etc., etc. And there's a lot of other tools that goes with that we've not discussed yet, but we'll get through that. And it's very interesting. And guys, this is the meat and potatoes. This is what's going to distinguish your business from make you that go-to supplier instead of just a me-too supplier.
I do want to mention that you saw the signature solution now. It's like an iceberg. You're seeing the top 5% of all the effort that goes into it. So there's a lot that goes into making it look simple. But we're going to take you through all of that. You're going to understand how to do it, so don't worry about it too much.
And you're going to do it for your own business.
100%.
There you go. Maybe, you know what, Jock? I think maybe we should have a training video series as part of when we launch the business directory. Let's do a training series where we give this free for our members that actually joins as a business directory member, and they can actually go through that process, you know, to create this kind of tools for their own business, and we just support them and help them going through that. But I like that idea a lot.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. We're going to share this video with our team and they'll create it for us. I love it.
That's it. Okay, 100%. Thank you very much, guys. So just to recap, if you like what you see, like it, subscribe, share the hell out of it, please. Tell your friends about it, your fellow business owners, you know, and as always, stay true to yourself, your business, be enthusiastic, take lots of action, and above all, never ever give up.
Awesome. Thanks so much, man.
Have a nice one, guys. Keep well. Bye.